Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Snowbeck, and today we are going to do Unit 6, Lesson 2. It's called Geometric Mean. And remember when you have proportions, you have like a fraction equals a fraction? Well, in those proportions, there's means and extremes. And the A and the B are the extremes. So let's write that in. This is an extreme, and this is an extreme. And the x in this case is a mean. So we have means and extremes. But when this number here and this number here are the same number, then it's called a geometric mean. So I'm going to add that on here, geometric mean. And this one over here is also a geometric mean. So in a proportion, there's means and extremes. And again, when these two are the same, that's called a geometric mean. So number 1 says, find the geometric mean between 8 and 10. So what we do is we set up a proportion. We go 8 over x equals x over 10. And then we cross multiply. So we're going to multiply x times x and 8 times 10. Well, x times x is x squared. And 8 times 10 is 80. Now, if we want to solve it for x, we want to get rid of that squared. We have to do something to get rid of that squared. It's called the square root. And when we take the square root of x squared, we get plain x. And when we take the square root of 80, you're going to have to type that in your calculator. You're going to have to type in second, and then probably it's right above the x squared key. You should get 8.94. Why don't you take a minute and practice that and see if you get 8.94. Number 2, find the geometric mean between 9 and 4. So remember what we do? We go 9 over x equals x over 4. And then we cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we're going to do x times x and 9 times 4. X times x is x squared. 9 times 4 is 36. Square root, x equals 6. 6 is the geometric mean between 9 and 4. Great, will you please pause the video and try numbers 3 and 4 and see if you can get these, and then unpause the video when you're done to check if you got them right. So number 3, you're going to go 5 over x equals x over 45, and you're going to cross multiply. So you get x squared equals 225, square root, x equals 15. The next one, 12 over x equals x over 15. Cross multiply, x squared equals 12 times 15 is 180, and then square root, and the square root of 180 is 13.4, approximately 13.4. I rounded that off. If the altitude is drawn to the hypotenuse of a right triangle, then the two triangles formed are similar to the original and to each other. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to draw a little segment down, and I want it to be perpendicular from C down to that hypotenuse, that long side. This spot where it touches, I want you to call that D, capital D. What happened is we wound up with, on the left, a little triangle right here. I'll outline it in red. And then on the right, we have a medium-sized triangle, which I'll outline in green. And then the whole thing in general, which I'll outline in blue, is the large triangle. So the red, the green, the blue, we end up with a small, a medium, and a large triangle, and they're all similar to each other, which means they're all the same shape, they're just different sizes. And some might be turned sideways or facing a different direction, but they are all the same shape. So if segment CD is the altitude to the hypotenuse AB, then the little triangle, triangle ADC, is similar to the medium triangle, which would be CDB. And the medium triangle, CDB, is similar to the large triangle, which is ACB. And then also the little triangle, so ADC, is similar to the large triangle, ACB. So all three triangles end up being similar to each other. Kind of cool. So the other thing that happens is this altitude, let's draw that altitude in there again, and let's drop that down. It has to be perpendicular, and we'll call this point D. Well, that altitude ends up being the geometric mean, this right here ends up being the geometric mean between AD and DB. And so if you think of it, it would go like this. If you do AD divided by CD and CD divided by DB, see how if we cross multiplied, these two are the same? CD is the geometric mean between those other two segments, this one right here and this one over here. Let's use that idea to do number 3. So it says find the values of x, y, and z. Well, you start by doing the geometric mean. X is the geometric mean between 20 and 5 because this is the hypotenuse. This is the longest side of the big triangle. So here's what we can do. We can use 20 and 5 and we can go 20 over x equals x over 5. Just like we did before when we found geometric means. We're trying to find the geometric mean between 20 and 5. Cross multiply, and you get x squared equals 100. 20 times 5 is 100. And then square root, and the square root of 100 is 10. So cool, we just figured out x is 10. So I wrote that in on this little spot between M and L. Now that we know x, now we have enough information to find y. Look at this blue triangle that I'm outlining down here at the bottom. Do you see how I have a 5, a 10, and a y? Well, we can do Pythagorean theorem now because this is going to be a right triangle in there, or a right angle. So we can do 5 squared plus 10 squared equals y squared. Y has to be your c because it's across from the 90-degree angle. So 5 squared is 25, 10 squared is 100, and then we still have y squared. And then add that up, it's 125 equals y squared, square root, and the square root of 125 is about 11.18. And so that is y. So we have x, we have y, the only thing we have left is z. To find z, I want you to look, I'm kind of outlining it in gray over here, this triangle in gray. Do you see how we have sides of 20 and 10 and z? Z is the hypotenuse, or the c. So we're going to go 20 squared plus 10 squared equals z squared. We can do the Pythagorean theorem again. 20 squared is 400, 10 squared is 100. 400 plus 100 is 500. And then square root. And the square root of 500 is 22.36. So z is approximately 22.36. And we did it. So let's recap really quick. First, we did the the geometric mean. First, we did that to find x. But then once we had x, we did Pythagorean theorem twice, once to find y and once to find z. Okay, so remember, it's always the geometric mean that is the altitude in the triangle. So in other words, this 12 is the geometric mean between the 9 and the x. So the 12 has to get used twice. The 9 and the x each get used once. So here's how it's going to go. We're going to use the 12 twice, and it has to be kitty corner from itself. So we're going to use x and 9. So it's going to go x over 12 equals 12 over 9. And again, this altitude is the one that gets used twice, and it's kitty corner from itself. So we wind up with 9 times x, which is 9x, and 12 times 12, which is 144. Divide by 9, and x is 16. Cool. So we know up here this is 16. Can we find y now? Think for a minute. How would we find y? If you're thinking, we can use this triangle over here on the left, and we could do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We can do 16 squared plus 12 squared equals y squared. So I'll just tell you it's 256 plus 144. Those add up to 400. And then what do we have to do to finish this? Square root, and the square root of 400 is 20. So now we have this side, y is 20. All right, pause the video and see if you can find z. You should do Pythagorean theorem one more time. 9 squared plus 12 squared equals z squared. And again, this would be your 90-degree angle, so your z has to be your c. So it's 81 plus 144 equals z squared, which I believe is 225 equals z squared. And if you practiced typing this in, the square root of 225 is a nice number. It is 15. So z is 15. All right, that wraps up Unit 6, Lesson 2. So now will you guys please go try the practice? If you have questions, just let us know. Have a great day.